All right, today we're going to talk about a quick little tip on the valves, replacing the valves in the manifold of these AAA pumps. In this particular case, we are talking about a 530016 pump, and some of the others are going to be similar. This is a pump off of a horizontal shaft engine, and so it's a little bit random here, but here what we got is we got these three valves here on the top and got the plugs over here. And so those came out pretty easy. And these are the valve assemblies, one in each of those holes. See if I can get it to focus here. There we go. And you can actually see that valve seat is open just a little bit, and we'll talk more about that later on. And so when we got those out, and those were pretty easy, but the three on this side were not so easy. The middle one I got out in one piece, and that's this one right here, because I was able to take a straight punch and just punch it from the back side, and it came out pretty easily, but not till after I had taken a needle nose pliers and grabbed that outer end, that little square end there from the top, and grabbed it pretty hard. And so that goes in there just like that. And so being able to grab it with the needle nose pliers, I pulled on it and it didn't want to come out, so I took a punch and went in from the back side here and took a hammer and just gave it a little tap, and it came right out. So that wasn't too difficult. But these other two, I nearly gave up on the pump, trying to get those out, because those did not want to come out. And so what I finally figured out that we had to do is we had to tear off the plastic part over the front. And so if you compare these, so what's inside there is this plastic part right here, and then you have a spring, and then you have the valve itself. And so that spring will sit on that valve seat just like that, and with the plastic over the front of it, it puts enough pressure on it that it holds that down against this surface right here and makes it seal. And so what I figured out that we needed to do is pull this plastic part off. So you can either use like a needle nose pliers like this, or what I did is I took one side of this binder clip off. See, missing. That's what we got right here. And I bent this end a little bit, and I was able to, and I had to trim the end off. It was a little bit too long, so I trimmed that off a little bit, and I was able to get in there and hook underneath there and take a pliers or the needle nose pliers or something and just give it enough of a yank that this plastic broke off the top here. Now, we didn't care about the spring or that valve or the plastic part, and as you see, there's bits and pieces of broken plastic here, and you may have to take a needle nose pliers to reach in there and kind of break it out of the way so you have some space there. But now that leaves you with the pieces that look like this or like that are still in there, and that's fine as long as you can see this hole there. So once I had that center, this one out, I took a caliper and I measured the inside of that, and I determined that a 1/4 inch tap, 1/4 inch 20 is what I would suggest because it has coarser threads. And so took that 1/4 inch tap, and I used my tap driver here and put it on there like that. Put a 1/4 inch ratchet on the back side there, and put that in there, and I threaded it, and didn't take much for the O-ring, which seemed to have kind of sealed onto the metal, for this whole mechanism to start turning. And so once it started turning and I had a little bit of a bite in of the tap into the seat, I kind of wiggled it side to side and then placed the pliers on this. And the first time or two, I didn't have quite enough bite, and so I just put it back in there, and I twisted a little bit more and kind of wiggled it around, and it had just enough bite when I put the pliers on it, or vice grip, one or the other, just pulled it out and it came right out. And so a couple things that I found just from these two that seem to help is, once this actually starts turning here, and then you kind of wiggle it side to side like this, and that allows the O-ring and all this mechanism to kind of break loose on the inside of down in there like that. Those still need to be cleaned up a little bit before I put the new ones in, but anyway, once I got those out, it literally took almost no time to do once I figured out how to do it. The finding out how to do it took me about an hour, hour and a half. But once I knew how, it took me almost no time. So the next one, assuming the next one comes out as well as these did, I could probably replace the valves in the next one in about 5, maybe 10 minutes. And so in this particular model, this is the correct part number for the new valves. And so I'm going to replace those valves. Looking at these seals, I'm wondering if we should have replaced these, but I think they will be fine. And so once the valves go back in those, these three, I'll put the valves in, and then I will put these caps back on it. And those down here, the valves will go in. And once I know that they are seated, then that goes over here for that. And then, like I said, once they're seated, then I'll put these in, and they'll go in like that. So with the open end towards the water where the pressure is. And so the way you'll know that it's the correct way is, if you think about it, the water is up there, and as the water pushes, it'll fill this space right here, and it'll push this lip out against the outside and push the inner lip against the valves, or against the pistons. And so what seems to have happened in this case is the operator was using the machine, and then they stopped spraying, whether they laid the gun down or whatever, and allowed the water to sit there and spin or pump. And so what happens is there's just a small quantity of water inside these manifolds. And so the friction and as it goes through the valves and everything, it gets extremely hot. And so you have this thermal relief valve right here, and it's supposed to spray the water out and to give you a little bit of fresh water and to cool it off. But that only works so long, and so that allows the valves to get hot and the seals, all that mechanism gets hot. And so I would suggest if I were to do this again, I would suggest that we replace the seals and the valves as a unit. But anyway, so that's my quick little random tip for today. I'm hoping that this will help somebody else out, save you from a bunch of headache like what I went through. And so again, if it allows us to focus again here, you can see, I don't know, is that sand? It looked like it could be sand, or it could be like little plastic or some other balls. It looks kind of like a little bitty pieces of sand, and that's holding that open. That alone should not have affected this because of the volume of water that's supposed to be going through here. That should not affect that. So we're going to put the new valves in, put the seals back in, and put it all back on the pump or on the engine, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully this tip is a help to you.